Welcome back to A Second Chance at Love and Marriage. I'm Shanice.
And I'm Sean.
And today we're going to talk about legacy.
Yeah, just thinking about just the type of legacy you want to leave. It's important thing that we was I actually saw it today. I had already thought about this topic for about a while, but I saw it today when I went to Shanice's family house and they planned a reunion. And one of her aunts was just talking about how, a lot of times the generation that's now, or even the generation that's under the aunts and stuff, they don't really know a lot of the family. You know what I mean? So it's important that not only that we know where we come from, it's important that we think about our legacy. And second chance at love and marriage, the good thing I like about our life, Shanice, is that I get a second chance to not rewrite history, but to think about what kind of legacy do I want to leave, first and foremost to my sons, but also the world around me. So just this topic of the legacy that you want to leave is very important, to me, and it's hopefully to you all as well, because we will be remembered. No matter what kind of person you are, people will remember you. And hopefully you thinking about how you want to be remembered. So being conscious that we do leave a legacy, but what type of legacy would that be?
Yeah. That's very true, and it is something to think about. I know a lot of times when people are young, they just kind of live in right now. The now moment is like they don't think about the future. But when you think about legacy, think about every aspect of your life, because that's definitely what I think about. I think about emotional. I think about the physical well-being. I also think about honor, respect. I also think about financially, the financial legacy. I think about the love legacy. And because we're a second chance at love and marriage, I think that's an important thing to leave, a legacy to leave for our sons is that, we had two parents that were separated, for a number of years, and now they've been given a second chance at love and at marriage, so that they do have still that foundation, that family foundation of seeing a successful marriage within their family. Not saying that there aren't others,
right.
But to see that come from their parents is something that we want to leave behind for our children, a legacy of love, and that's rich in love. So that they don't see like arguing and fighting and all that kind of stuff, but they actually see love and joy and peace and happiness and bliss and all of those things that they desire. And by seeing us, they know that it's possible.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm constantly conscious of not only how my sons see the relationship between me and their mother, but how I want to be seen. I don't want to be seen as some fake dude who put on the front for people, but I want to be seen as a genuine dude who actually cared about Shanice and my sons, first and foremost, but about the world around me and about the conditions of situations. And by being conscientious of what you do, that constantly keeps you to remember that people are going to remember you. You know what I mean? And I think you gotta. Shanice kind of said something like this. I don't know which particular video, but sometimes we gotta begin with the end in mind. When we starting something, we want to look at how it's going to look in the end. You know what I mean? And like she said, being young, we don't often do that. We look at what we doing now, and that's all that matters. And when we first got married the first time, I don't know about Shanice, but I wasn't thinking about how this going to look in 5, 10, 15 years. I'm just like, let's just do this and whatever. And you wasn't thinking about, and just looking back, that was horrible. That was a horrible decision, because I don't look back in the past a lot of times, but just looking back and just to see the effects of mindless living and the carnage that it caused. It's like I did a lot of things that devastated people that I don't, like I say, I can't undo, but what I can is create something new. And that's what I'm looking to. So every day I'm conscious of how this going to look in the end, not just how it is today. And because of that, I think, for the most part, I try to make decisions that are more eternal in nature and then just temporary.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's very good. Decisions that are more eternal, because either way, I mean, whether or not people realize it or not, like, not only our actions impact our DNA as well as our thoughts, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we choose from day to day, the way we live our life, the way we are in relationship with others, that does have an impact on the generations to come, our children, our children's children. It really does have a really big impact, and it's something that we don't really consider, but the way we live our lives today definitely impacts our future. Even if your kids don't, your great grandchildren don't see it, even still you lived it, so it's in your DNA, it's in your bloodline. So
yeah,
that's really important. And even not only what we present to our immediate family, but what we present to the world. What kind of legacy, what kind of name do you want to have when you leave the earth? And I think that requires a lot of self-reflection and you being really true and really honest with yourself and being your most authentic self. And that kind of takes some really introspective work. That really takes some introspective work. That takes, I know for us personally, to really push ourselves, to constantly come back to say, even for our vision as a whole, as a couple, constantly coming back to the vision and saying, this is what we want, this is the future, this is what we want our future to look like. So this is what we're working towards and working on right now at this particular time.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, she needs to be talking about a lot of stuff lately too, because of the world around us, and one of the things about legacy is that, unfortunately or fortunately, depends on how you look at it, that we don't only represent ourselves and our family, we represent a culture. We represent a nationality, and blacks in particular, we represent black people, and it's a lot of stereotypes around us. Some are justified, unfortunately, some are justified, and because of that, we already enter into certain situations behind the 8 ball per se. But if we can create a new legacy, not only for ourselves and our families, but also for our culture at times. I was talking to a particular lady at work, and I was just telling her, she was like, sometimes you can't tell people, the bad stuff you've been through. I said, yeah, true. But sometimes you have to, because what people need to see is that people can come out of stuff. They can come out of stuff and they still can do what's right. And especially black people, we've come out of so much. Our ancestors and some of our current leaders right now have brought us so far, but it seems like we're going backwards because we're not remembering the people's shoulders who we should be standing on. And we're not consciously thinking about the legacy they was trying to leave. So now we reversing. We living under the same slavery mentalities. We living under the same oppressed psychological way of looking at life. And because of that, it's like we're not living up to the legacy of the strong, confident, innovative blacks that we've come from. And I think it's so important that we remember that we not only represent our families and stuff, that we actually looked at as a part of a culture, a part of an ethnicity. And for one, I want black people to not only compare themselves, not really even to compare themselves to whites, but to understand that we are a strong people. Not to say whites aren't, whites are, or other ethnicities aren't, but we never were. No one's supposed to be second class. No one is supposed to be feeling inferior. So we have to have a legacy of strength, of understanding, of true power. And only way we can do that if we remind ourselves of that and actually live that out. There's so many people who talk about the strong, black, independent, creative person. But then when you look at the lifestyles, it doesn't reflect that. So it's so important when you thinking about your legacy is to think, how do you want people to not only see you and your family, but the lineage in which you come from, the nationality or the culture. in which you come from. And I think we need to do a really conscious and a better job at representing the black person in the United States of America first and foremost. You know what I mean? And just uphold the something that our ancestors would be proud of. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I try to remember as well, is just be a good man. You know, unfortunately, I'm gonna be always considered a black man in America, but just be a good man. And because you are a good man, the black man will be seen as a good man as well. You know, because I represent a nationality or a race that I can recreate a narrative to.
Yeah, something that you said reminded me of a few things. One that our ancestors will be proud of what we're doing today.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Because they fought so hard to, for freedom first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
And so that we would be seen and represented well.
Like
sure. The way they carried themselves, and the way I remember even talking to this lady in our store last week, mm-hmm. and she was talking about how her mother didn't come out the house without her face made up, mm-hmm. Without her makeup on. I know for my grandmother, she never left the house, and my grandmother raised me, so she never left the house without full stockings on, a dress, or, skirt and a blouse on, handbag, earrings, everything. Mm-hmm. She never left the house incomplete, not caring first and foremost about her appearance. Because, one, that's the first thing people see when they see you. They see your appearance, mm-hmm. and they judge you off of those first few seconds that they see you. You don't even have to open up your mouth, but you have already been judged. And I think that says a lot to how things have changed today, with how, one, it says a lot with how the person, their self-respect,
see themselves,
how they see themselves. Because if that's the way you see yourself like that, that's the way you're gonna leave the house. That's mm-hmm. the kind of honor and respect you give to yourself. Mm-hmm. So at the same time, that's the kind of honor and respect, or not, that you're gonna get mm-hmm. from other people. The other thing is, I remember it was Tyler Perry who was having a conversation with Cicely Tyson, and she said, I forgot what he asked her. He was talking about the next generation and how he had one of the studios dedicated to her, and she was like, I don't think we gave them enough to fight for.
Oh,
that's a very powerful statement, and it's so true. Because now, my generation, and even the generation behind me, my children and my children's children, they ain't got that kind of fight in them that our ancestors had to fight for freedom, to fight for what's right. Now everybody fighting for a stimulus,
right? Some material,
all this stuff that does it has no substance to it. You know what I mean? It's really meaningless. So with all of that being said, I think that says a lot about, one, how far we have come, and how far we still have to go, and even us within our generation, for those who have children and grandchildren, I think it's a lot more that we need to teach, but also our children and our grandchildren need to have open ears to even be willing to hear. But at the same time, I think we need to be willing to hear what they have to say, because it's a lot that we can learn from that generation as well. Things are changing. We even had that too at our meeting today. We seen how things are changing, how we did it. Our family is very respectful to the degree that we honor the generation that has gone before us. But at the same time, some things have changed. And, some, people were willing to adapt to that change, and then others were, they were like, no, kind of resistant to the change, but they were willing to hear the reasoning behind it. And I think that's what it takes is to have open communication and open dialogue in regards to, a lot of things that we face today, and even a lot of family dynamics that we're facing in regard, if we're looking to leave a legacy, a good legacy.
For sure. Yeah, yeah. And one of the things that I saw even today, and I'm always conscious of this because my attitude is to be an intentional present man. So one of the things that I saw today, it was more women at y'all meeting than men. It's not to say that they don't have men in their family and good men, but when it came to talk about what we want to do, it was more women there. And especially like I was talking about in the black culture, it seems to be a lot of women who are intentional with keeping the family together, intentional with trying to reveal to the next generation where they came from. And men not so intentional. Sometimes we like, all right, we just gonna go with whatever y'all do. We don't really have a voice. You know what I mean? We don't even really say what we want. We just there to support, what the woman want to do. But we're not instrumental in talking and saying what we want to do. I'm glad that the woman have come out of the shadow of the man in so many ways, because she should never be in his shadow. But that doesn't mean the man now takes a seat and does nothing. Right. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like the thing that I'm intentional about. I'm intentional about being a present man in my family, vocal, conscious, a partner, not something that is seen as an oppressor or some seem like a passive dude who's just sitting down and agreeing. So we have to be, conscious, and we have to be intentional, when we thinking about our legacy. And the unfortunate reality is, like I say, in the culture that, that I come out of, is that men are not as present. Even when they're not as intentionally present. They're not purposefully present. They just do a lot of supporting in the sense of agree, just trying to agree. With me, I think that it's important that we learn to agree, but it's also important that we have a voice in whatever's being said and done. And I think our children is looking for that.
Yeah.
In a lot of senses, our children is looking for a man to step up. Whether it's a cousin, a brother, or a father, or just somebody, just to be a strong, present, loving, caring, but vocal man. Have a say.
Yeah.
Have a say. We have gotten so used to a cultural anomaly that we think that that's normal for the women just to do everything. And I tell you, women really don't want to do everything.
Yeah.
They have to. Some of them have gotten used to doing everything, so it's just second nature. But you ask any real woman, do she want to do everything? She's going to be like, no, of course I don't. But I got to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I'm intentional with that part of the legacy is being a present man, being present in the life of my sons, even when, we have difficulties. I tell my sons, okay, we might not agree, but right. I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Even when I wasn't in the presence of my sons, I try to be present in their life. When me and my wife, if maybe we don't come to an agreement, I want her to know I'm still here. I'm not finna run away and create another family or run away and leave you to clean up the mess. Okay, that's not the legacy, that our ancestors would want.
Mm-hmm.
Neither is it the legacy that we shouldn't want to be an absent person. You know what I mean? I was just, was talking to Shanice after we was doing one of our walks today. It's a lot of people out here, but like, a lot of guys like, I ain't got no kids. I'm like, man, it's too many kids to be running around here that all the dudes ain't got kids. You know what I mean? So we need to claim our kids. We need to be responsible and raise our kids. Don't leave society or women at large raising these kids. Because now that what do we got? A legacy of a bunch of little, unfortunately, bastards running around, not knowing where they come from, learning everything from their mothers trying to teach these young men to be tough, but that at the same time she don't really got what's in her. So it's just messed up. The dynamic is messed up, and I don't know if as men that we are thinking about the legacy in which we're leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a really that's a really big topic, and even will require even more of an extensive conversation, because there's so much to think about when you think about one, the feminine role in the family, as well as the masculine role in the family, and how they play a part in both of those. Both of those people play a part in the legacy and impacting the family, not only for their immediate family, their children, but even for their children's children, their grandchildren.
Right.
Because I know that we all, it's just like the son who hasn't seen his father, but he has his father's ways.
Right.
He has his father's, he has his father's voice, his attitude, his gestures. Never met the man, right, but looks exactly like the man. Now, right, that says a whole lot. And even just like the woman who she might have been abandoned. Somebody else might have raised her, but even still, you hear people say she acted just like her mama. Right. Or which is a bad thing for somebody to say she's gonna be just like her mama. If it's in a negative way. Right. Because that's the kind of legacy. You got to think about that. You got to think about your whole being. Right. How you are being in the earth. Right. How you are being present in your family. Right.
It's a lot of people that say, I don't want my children to be like me. I want them to be better. I definitely want that. But I at least want to give my sons a standard to say, that's a really good man. You know what I mean? Be better, but at least have a standard to say, well, my dad was a really good man. You know what I mean? So let's do that. Let's set a bar, even though we wanted to go higher. Let's set a standard that's high enough that people could say, you know what, that's a good standard to start at. That's a good standard to start at, because I think right now we're not even really caring. We're not really caring, and society at large is being very much affected in a negative sense by our nonchalant, not really caring about what we're doing and what we have done. You know what I mean? So I'm not pushing the issue of what type of person is a good man or not, because I think we all have to define that. But I'm saying be there, be present, be a man that you want to be. Not society say you should be, because there's so many, standards that people say you should be this. This is what a good man is. This is what a good man, and be that as it may. But make sure you are the man you need to be, and that you want to be, and that you showing the world. Because the more you do that, the more people can look at the narrative, because like I was telling Shanice, if people gonna remember me from a lot of the bad stuff I did, it's nothing I can do about that. But if they be honest, they're gonna be like, ever since this happened in his life, he got a good name. He's done what he said he's gonna do. He's tried to be present in every situation that he can be. You know what I mean? So when my wife goes somewhere, I want to be there with her. I don't just want to send her to church or send her to her family or send her. I want people to say, man, he goes with his wife. He's there with her. If my sons have something and they want me to be present, I want to be there, so that they can see, this is where I think, I'm just talking personally from a man perspective. We need not be absent men. We need not spend all our time hanging out with each other in the bars or in the gyms or just in our man caves. We need to be present. We need to be more present. And when I'm thinking about a legacy, I'm thinking about that. Are you present? Can people say this guy was here?
And then, too, with you saying that, I also think about like the love and the honor that we show within the family.
For sure.
If you think about, so many things have happened in regards to Black women, and how Black women was just tore down, like in the media, like never before. And then there were a lot of people who came to the Black woman's aid to say, look, honor, respect, love. I mean, you wouldn't do this to a white woman.
For sure.
But a lot of times the Black woman is the one who's torn down. Now, if we torn down when we out there in the world, outside of our home, we definitely don't need that in the household.
For sure.
We definitely need to love, honor, cherish. I mean, really nurture that Black queen as she is.
For sure.
And with, the last couple years and, what you've seen in entertainment and music, has showed a completely different picture.
For sure.
And a lot of these women have embraced that.
Yep.
And taken on that image of being a bitch, of being a hoe. You know, all of those things that entertainment and the media tells her she is. But the dominant ones that I see being that is the black woman. I haven't heard of or seen a lot of white young artists coming out with that persona. I haven't seen that.
Right.
But I'm not really big into music, but from what I've seen, it's the black women. It's the black young women. That's how they see themselves. Barely dressed and also tearing themselves down. And then the next woman and the younger woman and the younger children repeating that. So then they dishonor themselves. They destroy themselves and treat themselves and don't see themselves as a queen, as the goddess that they are. But then, on the other hand, are they getting that at home? Are they receiving that at home? So it's a lot as a whole that we need to look at.
It's a lot
when it comes to that. So that's just our perspective.
But it's serious. It's a serious perspective because on the one hand, we will make songs and we will say something about celebrating our black queens. But then on the next track, on the other hand, you know, she's all kind of bees and hoes and all of this type of stuff. So there's no real consistency of what we want our children to see. You know what I mean? And one of the things that I noticed too is just a lot of people talk about their mothers. You know, a lot of guys say, that's OG, man, this and that. And I understand that. We need to really understand that, you know, the woman, you know, particularly talking about black mother is really important. You know what I mean? But where's the father? You know, why we don't even really mention our father in that. And from a male perspective, my thing is, if I celebrate my mom and put her on such a pedestal, and I, you know, either don't even acknowledge or downplay my father, what does that tell my children about my role in their lives? It's like, I understand a lot of men didn't have their father, so they had nothing to really celebrate. But don't downplay your own role in your children's life because your father wasn't there. You know what I mean? Teach your children how to celebrate his mother as the black queen that she is, but teach him how a black king should be present there. You know what I mean? And we have already, you know, said that we can't change the past. So I know we got a lot of interesting dynamics now, you know, that we have created multiple families, and it's okay because, you know, that is what it is, but we still can be there. We still can be there in whatever capacity we can for these children and teach them how to be respected and to be respectable. You know, and that's that legacy that we have to start thinking about. We got to stop complaining about what's going on with these young people and start taking responsibility and say, you know what, from this day forward, I'm going to show them something. I'm going to show them something that I would want it to see, or I really want them and the next generation after them to see and to know. You know, talk is cheap. You know, we need to say stuff, but we need to show stuff too. You know, we need to really show a consistency of what we're saying. Don't go back and forth. You know, and that's one of the big things I wanted to talk about: a consistent legacy of love, a consistent legacy of strength, a consistent legacy of support and togetherness. You know, families can stay together. You know, that may not be the normal now, but it should be.
It should. It
should be. You know, we got to stop accepting a cultural norm as it is what it is. I hate that saying, really, because a lot of times when we say it is what it is, it's something that shouldn't be. And we have accepted it and say, well, there's nothing I can do about it. And it is something you can do. You can't do nothing about the past or why it was. But when you say it is what it is, that's a present terminology you're using. A present word, it is. That means it can be what you want it to be at this moment if you make a choice instead of letting the world around you create the choice for you. You know, and I've made a choice, you know, no matter if people believe me, even support me. I've made a choice to be a good man, And like I say, in America, everything is based on color and class. Well, I'm going to be labeled a good black man. I have no problem with that, because I want other young black men to realize that your skin tone, your way you looked at doesn't matter, doesn't make you into a man. You determine the type of man you need to be. And others have to see that, and eventually they will. They will respect the fact that, you lived on this earth as a good individual. Yeah.
Well, that's all we have for you today. We do want to share beautiful affirmations. We talked about this on our previous episodes, and we're going to put a link in the show notes so that you can get your beautiful affirmation cards, which has two forms of art. It has photography as well as poetry. And the beautiful affirmation cards can be ordered and shipped to you, but you have my photography on the front, and then on the back Sean has haikus for each photo piece, as well as an affirmation statement that you can say each and every day to affirm yourself. So with that being said, we thank you so much for your listenership. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.